this isn't just going to be someone putting in the 40 hours and logging off and having fun on the weekends. Like, this is going to be someone who's like really committed to doing the work and really passionate about showing up every day.
Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast, brought to you by Detailer's Roadmap and Roadmap Sites. Hey, before we get started, I want to remind you to go rate and review this podcast. I know how many people are listening to this thing, and we don't have nearly enough reviews and ratings based on that. So if you need to, just go ahead and pause this right now, go do that review and hit a little rating for us. It really helps a lot. Also, if you're interested in web development, SEO services, go to detailersroadmap.com, click that little book a demo button at the top, and we will be able to walk you through and how to help you. Today, I'm super excited. One of the things that we've been trying to do on this podcast, I've been trying to do, is bring in non-industry people that can help us as the detailing industry kind of move into different avenues and to really educate outside of the industry norms of what we normally hear. So Ernesto Mandowsky is here today. He's the founder of MDM, a training firm that transforms businesses into momentum-driven machines, hence MDM. His personal mission is to democratize business transformation tools and share insights through MDM platform. Outside of work, he enjoys reading, baking challah bread. My wife actually has made that before. She's a baker. Working out. As you guys know, that's one of my things too. Spending time with his wife in Miami, Florida. So, hey, I know we're going to get along. That's like reading partially my bio too. So that's exciting. You know, I really appreciate you coming on board. Like I said, I'm really excited to have people on the podcast that are kind of, we expose the industry to people that don't normally like talk to the industry, right? So thanks for coming. Appreciate you.
Happy to be here. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, so the big thing we do to enter all these podcasts is we ask for that superhero backstory. We all have this backstory in business, and I think that really helps set the tone for us and also gives a little bit of background of who you are. So if you can walk us through that, your own personal superhero backstory, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I love the intention you set with the podcast about bringing people outside the industry into this space to kind of share best practices that we can all learn from. When I actually grew up in the restaurant industry and I started writing a book with this very exact same principle, I wanted to bring people outside the restaurant industry into the industry to teach them their unique skill set to help revolutionize the industry. My background was in systems engineering and technology, two words that aren't typically found inside of the restaurant space. And over the course of 10 years, I sought to bring these worlds together until in 2018, I had the opportunity to help a 96-year-old family-run steakhouse chain modernize, prepare itself, bring it into the 21st century. And we had to sell the business. And so for the better part of 10 years, I was focusing on creating this dream of being a restaurant technology analyst. And finally, when I made it happen, when I actually achieved that dream, I realized I didn't want that anymore. I didn't actually want to be a restaurant technology analyst. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to start my own business and be an entrepreneur and have ownership over my life. And so this was at the start of COVID, when I finished writing that book that I mentioned, and I started my business. So that's what I've been up to over the last 3.5 years with the same principle, taking best practices found across several different industries and helping small business owners understand how they can actually grow their business through, as my mission said, an accessible approach.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, getting out of the restaurant business around COVID was probably not a bad choice. It's crazy what we did to those small businesses. It's really terrible and sad, honestly. But what was it in particular that made you not want to be in the? You know, I've got some restaurant background too, and it's funny that you say technology because POS typically has two different meanings, and it's for the same thing. point of sale and piece of crap, right? Like that's how most people see their POS systems. And so, it's pretty cool that you did that, but I'm interested why you decided not to pursue it, because there's, got to be clear opportunity there still.
There's definitely clear opportunity. I think when you work in a restaurant or when you work with restaurants, you are working nights, weekends, holidays.
Mm-hmm.
If your clients are restaurants, you are answering the phone on nights, weekends, and holidays. And I made that quality of life choice to step away from that particular client type.
I mean, I love that answer, because part of what we talk about and what I really hone is like, making sure that your business is serving you to build your life, not the other way around. And I come from the health and fitness background too. So pretty much that same schedule, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., 11 to 1, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Right. Like and so I got out of that as soon as my wife got pregnant, went to work for another company. But it was like, because like you're saying, that's it. Those are not good lifestyle hours unless that's your life.
Exactly. And although I'm not working directly with restaurants, I will say the idea of a restaurant, or most of your listeners, the detail shops, I would invite them and encourage them to consider themselves as restaurant owners, or at least people who are striving to deliver a 5-star experience, a personalized, unique experience for every single one of the guests that walk through those doors, or hangar doors, or warehouse doors, and think of it like that, because that's what every business owner is, not just your detail. We're all striving to deliver a 5-star experience, and so I use the stories from the restaurant world when I'm trying to teach people concepts like project management or CRM or delegation, because those words it's a bit over our heads sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to dig into that, with you specifically. Like, can you give me some of those stories and some of those concepts and examples? Because like I said before we got started, it's, we're really a lot of smaller shops, either single operator or 1 to 5 people. That's probably a majority of the detail shops. There are some larger ones, but which would actually probably kind of equate to a smaller family run restaurant, because you're not dealing with huge staff and huge numbers and all of that. But so can you walk me through some of those concepts that you try to teach them for success, and then how that would equate in our own, and really it's any small business, right? That delivers a service, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, the fundamental concept that I teach every business owner is that every business has 5 recipes that they must master if they want to become $1 million machine. Also, MDM.
Yeah, I love that.
The first one, while most business owners are thinking in their head like, "Oh, I need more sales, or I need more likes, or I need more posts." If you have your shop, and 10 cars showed up like today, could you actually serve all of those clients like today?
Yeah, most of them can't.
Most of them can't. So the first recipe is we always start with the transformation. We always start with the core offer that any business owner is delivering. And one of the biggest sources of stress that business owners have, you ask them, "Hey, like, what's on the menu?" And they'll say, "Well, it depends. What do you need?" And then client A says, "Oh, I need a full wrap for a truck." And client B will say, "Oh, my Porsche needs a full wrap." And then client C will say, "My Hummer." And they'll say, "Great, we can serve all those needs."
Mm-hmm.
One takes 1 day, the other one takes 4.5 days, the other one takes 2 days. And because they're trying to deliver 3 different types of transformations, it kind of throws their production line for a whirl. So when you look inside of the world of a restaurant, do you like ramen?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Pho, I guess it's pho or pho. Yeah, and ramen, right?
Pho in Vietnam,
Yeah.
lots of diversity there, but usually in a ramen shop in Japan, when you go to the shop, they have one soup base, two meats, and additional add-ons. The ramen and then additional add-ons. If you say, "Hey, I'm a vegan," or they don't, you
Yeah.
know,
No soup
there's
for you.
there no soup for you exactly. The door's over there. We're not for you, and they're very comfortable telling the customer no. But because this is America, the land of five-star hospitality, people get it twisted a bit. They're like, "Oh, I'm just
Mhm.
going to serve the customer." And so the transformation is really the first point of entry where you start to think about, okay, how can we help a business start to get itself prepared to scale?
Mhm. And like as far as so are you suggesting that we are more deliberate about saying, okay, this isn't our customer?
Yeah. If you're a detail shop and let's say you specialize in Hummers or
Yeah.
Tesla trucks, right? The Cybertruck,
Yep.
do Cybertrucks and that's it, or do
Really.
Cybertrucks and the Roadster and that's it, or Cybertrucks and Hummers and that's it. And if someone needs their Porsche, find another person who's a specialist in that and refer out. Don't try to serve all. Don't try to wrap all these different types of cars because it does impact the timelines and how you can predict and the flow of customers that you could serve on a consistent basis.
Yeah, there's a guy named Joe Torbati who's out in San Francisco, which is Tesla world, right? Even though I think the governor's trying to get rid of them altogether, even now that Elon left. But but he specializes right now. He's been the Tesla guy since Tesla came out, but right now, like he's doing a ton of money in just doing. I mean, he does other vehicles, but primarily it's just let's just do Cybertrucks.
Right.
And and so he's got a system down, he's got all the film, because each film piece is cut specifically for the panel and all that, and so he's got that done. I love your idea of the pho because it's literally something that we ate in college because it's the cheapest possible thing that now we have to pay $15 for. And to me, that is a great example of as of a really what is a luxury meal or a luxury service, because it is something that would be so easy to make at home for the most part, but we're going to pay for it. And I think detailing, tent, and those kind of things also are the same way. Like people can clean their cars at home, but we're selling a service that people are willing to pay for because we're wrapping it up into this experience for sure.
Because not just that, you're just saving the person hours of time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can jump on YouTube and look for a DIY wrap video, but for sure I'll do it like crap and it won't be nice.
Yeah.
Just like what I do, I do business systems. I work with a software called Notion. And Notion's like super hot and trendy now. And people say, "Oh, I'll just watch a YouTube video on Notion." It's like, all right, cool. Well, go like spend hours and hours of time and try to learn it all and like you're not, that's okay. You could try to
Yeah.
do it yourself.
Yeah.
But you want a service, then you work with me. Or in your case, you're a detailer, right? You work with me. Or your SEO, like your customers inside and out, come to you.
Yeah.
We all are professional, we're all distinctly unique in what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, and we, one of the things that we do, which I'll do next week at a summit that we're having, is that I will educate people how to do it themselves if they want to do it themselves. Like, for example, there are certain things for SEO, for website design, for page writing, and all that will help your site, even if it's a Wix site, Squarespace, whatever. But at the end of the day, we know we can do it better and more easily and more effectively. So it's it's part of that education. So number one, you said transformation. Let's work through those.
Yeah. So number one, transformation. Number two is connection, which is basically your relationship management, your sales, your partnerships. When you have a firm grasp on, for example, how long it takes you to deliver the transformation, you now could say, all right, let's turn on the firepower on outreach and partnership strategy to now fill in the transformations, start to sell out, start to build that line, that the wait list for the service. That's manifested through your CRM. CRM is a customer relationship management tool where detailed shops, I have to imagine there are specific ones for
there's 4 or 5 in the industry, and but like you, when you saw in the restaurant industry, there is much better adoption now than there was probably 3 or 4 years ago, but there's still a lot of shops that are, paper and Excel spreadsheets and all those things, and trying to do reminders and texts and email nurture and all of those things that all these CRMs do. Some of them do them differently than others. But to your point, it's like they know what it is now, at least, but they haven't all implemented it.
Yeah. And, I don't primarily work with this industry, but I know that tools like Square probably offer, appointment setting, payment collection, email reminders, email marketing afterwards. So like that is probably a pretty solid tool that people can check out to start building their customer database. Because also at the end of your transformation, kind of the opening to new connections is asking for a referral. People who wrap their cars probably hang out with other people who wrap their cars as well, or like cars, or talk about cars. So building those relationships is such a fundamental aspect. Just like in a restaurant, understanding a guest's preferences, why they come into a restaurant. Are they celebrating an anniversary? Do they have food allergies? These are all questions that waiters are asking you the first, the moment that they seat you. They want to understand what's happening in your world so that they can actually provide a wonderful transformation experience for the guest, for the diner.
Yeah, we talk about that, walking through a customer's vehicle with them. So like they would come in, because we don't recommend you do quotes over the phone. So the customer comes in and you walk them through around their vehicle, because people's number one subject is themselves typically. So if you walk them through and ask them questions about their car, how they use it, are they soccer moms? Are they doing this and this and this? And so then we're able to then help understand and make that connection to what the services are that we can provide. And, to your point about CRMs, there's RoadFS, Orbis X, Urable is a partner of ours. All of those are in the industry, and they do cool stuff like Carfax, and they grab the VIN and they can do estimates on the fly and all that. So it's like something like Square can do the bare minimum, at least if you're not using one of these other, but then these other ones can do, just so much. It's crazy for sure. So, all right, transformation connection. What's the third one?
So the third one, once you work through your ecosystem, you have your customer list, your partners, everyone that it's time to grow that list. So the third one is communication, which is known as marketing. So it's now, if you are, think about your car shop, it's like, okay, what does your website look like? This is when people call Kevin. We're like, Kevin, I need some SEO. I need a lead magnet. I need a checklist. I need to start collecting emails. I need to start creating content. I need to create a YouTube channel to educate people on the benefits of wrapping. I need to now start to build an in-house media company to create rich educational material that informs people, entertains them, inspires them, shows them what's possible with our work, which in their case is the beautiful wraps that these shops can produce.
Yeah, wrap, detail, coatings, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Is there, like, within your customer base, what kind of things are you seeing as most successful? When we talk about marketing, it's like everything, right? Like we have this whole page in one of our presentations that is just everything from direct mail to referrals to Chamber of Commerce meetings to PPC and Google and all of that stuff. But like in the small businesses that you're seeing, what kind of things tend to be good ways to start, and kind of I refer to it as low hanging fruit, right? Like those kind of things. What are you seeing most successful in those areas?
Well, I don't do anything paid, no ads, no PPC, none of that, because it's so hard to measure. Other people have different perspectives. Everything that the root of my philosophy is always around partnership and collaborative content creation. You and I right now, we're creating
Yep.
collaborative content. We're going to maybe have a conversation after the phone. We'll talk
Yep.
about my referral partners, who you're looking for. And that's how, that's my source of growth.
Right.
If I put in $1,000 into some ads, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's successful in other industries, but because I work with service providers that want to grow through podcasting, through partnerships, through building community, it's mostly around organic. But it is definitely around this idea of, I like to invite my clients to find a story or a through line that they have their businesses through. Like, I use restaurants as my through line, and use that as a way to build a world where they can invite their clients into. Just like what we're doing, just like what you do now with your podcast and with your several other channels.
Yeah, can you dig into that a little bit in terms of what a through line is? Because I think that's a concept and a definition that I think most small business owners probably don't even know what that means. So can you dig into that a little bit? And it doesn't have to be industry specific. I'm just in general.
I think a through line is just like a theme that you anchor to your business. So maybe I'm just making this up. Maybe the owner of one of these body shops or detail shops loves superheroes. And so he calls his detail shop the Superhero Collective. But everything is about Superman and Batman, and the menu has superhero language in there. Everything ties back to the superhero. And when people listen to this through line, they identify themselves with that through line. They become a raving fan of your business. So my through line, restaurants, everyone can connect to a restaurant experience. Most businesses do not have a through line. They're just kind of a commodity. You're an SEO agency, but your SEO agency, you have detailer's roadmap, cruise control, you have these nuances of okay, we work with cars.
Yeah.
So that's how you have kind of stood out in the sea of SEO agencies that are out there. You're using the language of detailers to kind of get their attention, is what I assume.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. That's why we named it Cruise Control. We have road in the logo. We actually we have Detailer's Roadmap, which basically is a roadmap for detail shops. So we're expanding into wrap and tent and all that. So we're kind of doing this soft rebrand called Roadmap Sites, right? So then we can be all, but it's all roadmap, right? It's all tied together. But it's something I really haven't thought about that much. Is that something that you think gives a customer base more tangible things to kind of hold on to? One of my friends actually it's called Super Detailing. And he's living on the edge because he uses Superman logo. I'm surprised that Marvel hasn't, or DC hasn't sued him yet, but he's probably small enough they're leaving him alone. But I like that idea of, is that something that then they can identify with, and if they like superheroes, then, or even if they don't, right? Like they like superheroes, maybe that's something that they can tie on to, but even if they don't, they can see this through line theme.
People can see it. I mean, I specifically do not specialize in the helping people craft the story through line.
Yeah.
It's kind of just hey, this would be nice. But what I specifically focus on is, okay, now that you quadruple your client count, now how are you setting up the CRM? How are you setting up the project management system? How are you setting up the automations to actually account for this 10x in business activity? How do you actually integrate it, ingest it without losing your mind and burning out?
Yeah.
That's what happens. These businesses go through, they're doing the work for years and years and years, and 7 years in, some magazine finds the shop and the city of Miami does the write up on the shop, and now boom, they're slammed, they're busy, and yeah, the money is, I mean, great, but really you're putting in 100+ hours a week, and you end up closing the shop in faster than overnight broke.
Yeah.
Because you burn out.
Yeah.
So I really focus on making sure that they can ingest all the activity that's created.
Yeah, I want to walk through that more. So we got transformation, connection. I want to walk through all 5 of these. Communication.
Yeah, sure. So every entrepreneur, every industry knows these 3 topics really well. They understand serving customers, selling, and marketing.
Yep.
The difference comes in the 4th and the 5th recipe. The 4th one being organization.
Mm-hmm.
How do you actually go from business to like an enterprise? And that's through organization, through bringing in technology, through creating goals, aligning those goals with specific actions, creating plans, putting timelines, having weekly planning meetings, having daily meetings, like actually creating the infrastructure that creates a shared way of working. You said most of the people listening, maybe they're 1-person shops, 2-person, a couple of contractors working with them. But what happens when they want to build that 10,000 square foot facility? They now need teams of teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they don't have immaculate communication all the way from the top, from the business owner down to the mechanic, again, it's gonna crumble, or it's just not gonna make it.
Yeah. And without giving away the farm or proprietary information, can you just what are some of those things that you see that small businesses, because obviously you're in the business of transforming these people's businesses. You go in and you're like, all right, this is everything that's broken. These are the steps to fix it, and this is where we expect to get, right? Like, what kind of things are you seeing? I want to give kind of some tangible, things for these guys to do.
Totally. Well, for one, people say, I don't have time. This is the concept, work on your business versus work in your business. Oh, I don't have time. It's like, look, I'm not asking anyone to stop serving customers. But if you think about the 80-20 rule, 80-20 means 80% of the results comes from 20% of the inputs. If you look at a 50-hour work week, that means 10 hours of your week working on the business.
Yeah.
So people might say, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what working on the business means. Working on the business means actually looking at your numbers, looking at your financials, looking at your customer list and calling them up for referrals. It means meeting with your team once a week for an hour just to talk about everything that's happening. It means every day actually having a 20-minute daily stand-up meeting. It means clearing your inbox. These are little tasks, which person listening is like, what? That's dumb. It's like, no, actually, the fundamentals are what's going to take you to the next level. But most people are ignoring the fundamentals.
Yeah, it's easy to get it. That's that E-Myth revisited, right? That's that's the whole technician versus entrepreneur, essentially. And I think that in this industry, it's easy to be a technician, and it's hard to do that. And I'm guilty of that too, of spending too much time working the day-to-day stuff. Hey, that little thing on your phone when you search and you say business near me? Well, people aren't finding you when they search for ceramic coating near me, detailing near me, tint shop near me, PPF shop near me. They're not finding you as well as they should, or they're not finding you in the areas that you'd like to. Detailer's Roadmap has a solution. I want to introduce our new Google Business and Maps Accelerator. We have got this great new program that not only gives you an opportunity to do some search engine optimization, SEO, but in a very specific way that is designed to be map friendly, Google business friendly, and in order to get you more leads in areas that you're currently in and areas that you also want to target that may be slightly out of your own area. So go to detailersroadmap.com, use that little schedule a demo button at the top, and tell them in that form that you want to do the Google Business and Maps Accelerator program. Take a look at that. It's very cost effective and a very entry level price, and it's awesome. And I actually, in my time blocking on my calendar, I have each brand has its own afternoon for strategy and planning. And so that's where I really dedicate the time to say, okay, well, what's the next 2 weeks look like? What's the next 3 months look like? And then how are we doing against those? That's something that really works for me too.
Exactly. A lot of business, another way to make more time to free up your time so you can work on the business, hire a mechanic, or I don't know what the technical term is in the detail
hire
world,
another detailer, hire somebody to do interior detailing, that kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Because if you look at your hourly rate, like your take-home pay as an owner, if let's say at the end of the year your shop makes, I don't know, $250,000, $250K, and your take-home pay is $60K, if you divide $60K by 2,000 hours, that's about $30 an hour.
Yep.
So I don't know what the rate of pay is for detailer.
I mean, we want these guys making 100 plus an hour for their shop, but I think probably that's, unfortunately, it's probably less than that for a lot of people based on the number of hours they're working and all that stuff. But yeah, that's good math for us to work from.
So if you take that number, $30 an hour, and a detailer is, let's say, I don't know, $40 an hour, or 30 or 40, it's still hours that you get back, because the detailer cannot get more customers, cannot grow the business. You and only you, the business owner, can grow the business.
Yeah. Yeah, and it could be a matter of too that the detailer would be $15 to $18 an hour or whatever, and so Dan Martell, really, from his Buy Back Your Time, I don't know if you've read that book, right?
Of course.
And so that's a big concept for him, is you need to do the math, and I can't remember what he calls it, but there's basically this number at which it actually makes me more money to have someone else do it. I have an executive assistant now. She handles all my emails and she's doing my calendar, and she'll even send out for me the notes from this podcast that we do to you, and and ask you to share it and all, so she does all that stuff, right? Because I can then go do other things for the business for roadmap sites, and I could do these appearances and help have it. I did an Instagram live this morning and all that, because that is much higher revenue than what I'm paying her. And in a business, hiring even a bookkeeper, like a fractional bookkeeper, would be so much cheaper than you sitting, something that takes them 10 minutes may take you 10 hours to do, right? And so there's this economy of scale also.
Exactly. And my customer, the entrepreneurs like yourself, they'll say things like, "Oh, hire VA," and that's great, and that's definitely like a step in the right direction because you're freeing up time. But what happens when you could hire someone who can consistently implement more automations that will flywheel into more free time?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're not hiring a detailer just to do work on your behalf. You're almost like hiring a shop manager who could systematically optimize your shop floor. Not an easy skill set to teach, but imagine if someone in that industry had a training program for systematically training shop floor managers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure all of your clients and all the detail business owners would be like, wow, plug them in for $40 an hour. Great. I don't have to be the business manager of my shop. I'm down. It's like if Dan Martell, instead of SaaS, he was doing detail shops,
That's right.
Kind of like that.
Yeah. And I will say on this podcast that if you have not read Buy Back Your Time, go get it right now. It's super awesome. But, to your point, one of the things we talk about in this industry and on the podcast is maybe you're a really good salesperson, and but don't either. You probably shouldn't be detailing at all. You should probably not be touching cars. Or if you're somebody that sucks at sales and sucks at all that stuff, you need to hire a salesperson while you go detail cars in the meantime and grow the thing. For me, with one of my brands, one of my goals for 2025 is to actually get what I would refer to as a brand manager. right? Somebody that can, so that I can do more high level stuff and let them actually manage my brands for me, so I don't have to do that every day, right? And so that's similar to what you're talking about with the shop manager for sure.
Exactly.
So what are we looking at for number 5? We got transformation, connection, or communication, organization.
So number 5, so organization, a lot of structure, a lot of planning. There's a lot of technology in there, a lot of like masculine energy, a lot of rigidity to protect the integrity of the vision. And most bigger businesses sometimes have this bad reputation with like so much compliance, structure, and overhead. But people leave, it's become wild entrepreneurs. What they actually want also is to lean into that creativity, lean into that excitement of building a business. And so the 5th recipe is actualization. So actualization, if for people who know Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, like after your physical needs are met, your security, your love, the highest form of fulfillment is when you have that connection to your purpose. And so if you can create an environment where people are connected to the purpose of a company, great. The secret to do that, though, is inspiring your team to find their own personal purpose inside of the company. So if I can hire someone whose dream is to, I don't know, be a marketing automation, be a brand manager for people like you.
Yeah.
And our company mission is to help people democratize business transformation, and I'm teaching them that we have this alignment of our purposes. This isn't just going to be someone putting in the 40 hours and logging off and having fun on the weekends. Like, this is going to be someone who's like really committed to doing the work and really passionate about showing up every day. So for people running shops, they're like, I have low wage labor working for us. It's like, yeah, you do. But, if you inspire the shit out of them, I bet you they're going to put in the best, their best work, their best foot forward. And, this is where people think that culture is a little too woo-woo. But this is,
Right.
this is where, people love this stuff. People love feeling part of an organization that actually cares about them and cares about making a difference. Now, I don't know how many shops are intentionally doing that.
Probably not a ton. With our company, Detailers Roadmap and Roadmap Sites, that's one thing that Chris DiGiovanni, who's the owner, CEO of the company, has done a really good job at, to the point where like he asks up front, what is your passion? What do you want to do? How do you see that passion manifesting itself in this particular position that you're applying for? And then over time, like, we've moved people around in the company that are like, hey, you're good at this, but this is totally not your passion, right? And they're like, absolutely, yeah. I didn't want to say anything before, but yeah, I would love to do this. So you move them from a support role into a sales and marketing role or whatever. But that's something that really makes a difference, because it's that old school word buy-in, right? Like, if everybody's bought in, or at the end of the day, it's like, do you like doing this? And this is the only job I have? No, I hate my job. Well, let's try to find you somewhere else to work. Also, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Or you know what? Even before even going back to the team, like thinking about yourself as a solopreneur, like I think a lot of entrepreneurs or solo business owners, they don't create their own personal purpose inside all of this. And so, hey, like, it's better that you yourself close up shop and go and get a job, because it takes a lot to build a business, build a $1 million machine. Like, you could keep your $250,000 a year shop and call it a business. Is it actually a growing business, or is it a very dressed up job with happen to have some contracts under?
Yeah, are you just an employee of your own business? And that falls into this category. I've used this phrase a lot, which is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right? Like I think there are a lot of like, dude, you hate your life and you hate your business. Either you need to change how you're doing it or change what you're doing. I'm throwing out these little cliche taglines, but it's like, if you dislike what you're doing, you either need to change how you're doing it or maybe find something else that you'll love, because it may not be your purpose.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, I had a couple of questions I wanted to do here, but what are some of the biggest mistakes small businesses are making when it comes to this growth and this aspect of scaling? Like what are like that, because you see this all the time and you're doing discovery calls and evaluations and all of that. So what are some of those big mistakes that people are making that we can help these guys avoid?
Well, they're definitely trying to change too much all at once. I think people can set smaller goals, not smaller, sorry, set less goals. Set big goals, but like narrow the focus a bit. Don't try to launch a podcast, launch a YouTube channel, launch an Instagram channel, launch a LinkedIn strategy, don't try to do all those things while also trying to double your client base, while also trying to launch 3 different products. Focus on 3 things at a time. I tell people 3 priorities per quarter. Priority for me is a goal. And not only is it a goal like an outcome, but an action-oriented goal.
I love that. So try to set your priorities. Try to set three is the goal. So I love that for sure. Anything else that you see kind of predominantly going on when people try? I mean, that's like biting off more than you can chew kind of thing, basically, right?
That's that concept. The other one is, I mentioned it earlier, like 80-20. I'm not asking you to give up your whole week, but set one day of the week to work on your business. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what that means, hit up Kevin or hit up someone. Like, join some detail shop mastermind. Like, learn what that means, because you will never grow if you're not going to make the time to grow.
Yeah. And how do you, like, I'm curious how you do that in your own business. This is something I've been working on with time blocking and hiring an executive assistant and all these different things. But I'm curious. I always like to put people on the spot a little bit. Like,
sure.
How do you follow your own advice with that?
Yeah, every week I have a half day that's blocked off on Mondays, and then I don't have like half day blocks, but every day at least an hour I have set for, like, I call it tinker time. Tinkering, like setting up automations. I've rebranded my business. I've been in business for 4 years. I rebranded my business in April. And so since April, I mean, I have been like a madman rebuilding the entire business. I wrote a book in 30 days. I'm now in like book launch season. I basically shared like the 5 recipes of the book. Like, I have been building like a madman these last couple of days, because I'm also expecting a baby in
you're totally not busy weeks. At all, right?
yeah. So, but how I do see this is, like, I will have 2 half-day blocks in my schedule when I come back from my paternity leave, where it's just going to be working on the business, and the rest of the time, the other 32 hours of the week, I will be prospecting inside of client sessions, creating content, working in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I try to do too, which is just, I started doing time blocking. And we had a guest early on in the podcast, if you go back and look at these, but that talked a lot about time blocking. And I'm still experimenting a little bit to what works for me. But if you look at my calendar, there are very few holes in my calendar, because I try to have things pretty well organized and blocked out for different activities. The one thing, and not to belabor Dan Martell with this, but he talks about having days that you are more creative, days that are you more thinking, days that you're working, doing logistics stuff. And so there's lots of different ways to do it. But, to your point about joining masterminds, we talked about that on the live that I did this morning, is stop, get out and actually join business masterminds. Don't get so focused on industry masterminds, no matter what industry you happen to be in, but or industry, just exposing yourself to different people in the industry, because there are lots of people like yourself that can kind of speak into our industry in a way that, even though it's not something you do every day, the same concepts definitely apply.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's hear. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we're all in the same battle.
Yeah,
just looks a little differently.
Yeah, 100%. So tell me about the book. Tell me how we find out more information about you if we're looking to maybe do some some of these 5 pillar things that we're looking at. How do we reach out to you? I want to hear like when the book is going to launch, what it's called, how we find it, and all that too.
Sure. So the book is called Momentum Multipliers: 5 Recipes to Build Your $1 Million Machine.
I love it.
We just got through the 5 recipes, and the book is specifically designed and written to be consumed in less than 90 minutes.
Nice.
Deliver every single recipe. Every recipe is 5 sub recipes. It's like if you knew or didn't know, at a restaurant when you go and have your meal, each meal, that's each plate put on it's actually a number of sub recipes going onto your plate. And so when I look at these 5 recipes, I think of them as the core foundation of every 7-figure business. We've worked with over 100 companies across 8 industries. So
nice.
These concepts aren't industry specific. It's a lot of these fundamental basics that everyone can apply inside of their business.
I love it. Website that we can go to?
So you can grab a copy of the book at build.yourmdm.co.
Okay.
Yourmdm.co is the site of my company, and we have the build in front of it. Basically takes you to our book landing page, and you can grab the introduction if you're unsure, like, who's this Ernesto guy? He's a restaurant. I'm at a car shop. Not really applicable. I share the introduction for anyone to check out free. It's exciting. It's a good opening story.
Yeah, well, that's super cool. The new baby is super cool. I'm excited for you on both fronts. I've been working on a book myself, so I know that process, and it's just getting in there and getting it done. I'm very impressed that you got it done in 30 days. That's motivating to me. But it's funny because on that Instagram live I did this morning, we were talking at one of the things that I talked with him about is if you want to have the results that people have, you have to follow the recipes that they're using. And so I think that's, feel free to grab that as your tagline, but but I love the fact that we're talking about the recipe for scaling and for, kind of building these businesses. So I really appreciate you coming on board.
Of course. To kind of add on to the cliches of sayings, do you cook?
I do. Yeah. Not a ton. My wife is a baker. Okay. So baking is there's no leeway with a recipe when you're baking.
So I asked because, cooking and baking, very dual there, where bakers, you must be very prescriptive. When you're cooking, the cool thing about recipes is that when you follow the recipe, you're going to get the result. Now, after you master the recipe, though, that's where you understand rules like cause and effect, and where you can start to bring in creativity and innovation to, instead of this spice, I'm going to do this spice. Instead of this cooking method, I'm going to change this cooking method. And now you can almost break the recipes to now find your own creative solution. But I think what happened, most entrepreneurs, they start their business and they're just like, I'm doing it my way. And it's like, my way has no logic, no rhyme or reason. There's no basis for their decision making. And they get frustrated with why it's not turning out the way they want it to. And so it's like, hey, first you learn the recipes, then you master the recipes, and then you throw out the cookbook and start creating your own innovative solutions that are so totally unique inside of your space. But there are no shortcuts. You do what the successful people do.
Yeah, I love that because it's, if you're trying to do, and what typically happens in small businesses, like this week, I'm going to do this old-fashioned down-home cooking recipe, and then I'm going to do an Italian restaurant recipe, and then a Mediterranean, and like whatever the newest, shiniest thing, and I'm going to keep trying all of these things, but I haven't mastered any of them. to a point where I can, now like when my wife bakes, we're like, I didn't really like the flavor profile of that. And this is how cooking works too, right? It's like, I didn't like how the heat came in late, in a particular like dish or whatever. And so you can get really, really like nuanced in that. And I love the point that you're making, which is you can do that within your own business systems as well. You have to master it, make sure it's working, and then begin to tweak it. Don't tweak it up front.
You can, and you can experiment. You could attempt to do it, just like you said. I tried the Italian recipe. I liked the heat. I didn't like the heat. I'm gonna make the adjustment. You take that deliberate tinkering approach. Business owners will be like, it's not working. Throw it out the door. New strategy, like totally new strategy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it is about these small iterations until you get the result you're looking for. But if you can't just like throw everything out and start something new, because then you're just continuously in that cycle until 3.5 years later, you burn out and you go back to get a job.
Yeah. Yep. I understand that for sure. Give me your website one more time, not for the book, just how people find you, maybe book a discovery call with you and learn more information and all that.
It is yourndm.co.
Awesome. Ernesto, I appreciate you taking the time today. I think this is really helpful information. And I wish you the best of luck with the book launch and the new baby launch as well. We'll call that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.